You know, Crystal Tech and Rise of Kingdoms, when you get into KvK, gives us all kinds of opportunities. And we've talked about it before, how you can focus one type of troop. And when you get into a Zone 5, like we're getting ready to have on my second account at 2359 and on my main in 606, you get an opportunity to really kind of push the envelope, because I rally garrison, I got to get to the back of the tree. But I can kind of single out one troop type. So I'm going to talk about what I'm going to run with infantry, what I'm going to run with cavalry, go through all of that, because this is going to be the video that's going to go into a troop heavy 5-march lineup for Zone 5. And for those of you who are on the free-to-play or low spending spectrum, this is a real easy way to focus one troop type, get a bunch of stats, and then go run that troop type if you have more of those. So I will give you the best lineups for your troop heavy, infantry, cavalry, and archers right now. Everybody, I'm your boy War Daddy Chadsky. I do videos for Rise of Kingdoms all the time. And if you enjoy these videos, throw a like on here. If you're not subscribed, consider doing so. Hit that subscribe button. And it's July, and we're in the middle of our July and August giveaways, where I give a $10 flux for every single video I put out. All I want you to do, I love interaction, right? Helps out the channel, helps out the video, full transparency. Some people don't like giveaways, but I love them. And to win a $10 flux, all you have to do is comment down below in the comment section. I don't care what you say, guys. And in light of recent events, there's going to be all kinds of comments down there. It's all good. Just throw them down there, whatever. But the winner of our previous video that talked about the Orleans auxiliary guide. And so we take the auxiliary skills and we do a guide for it. This is from Christian saying, thanks for the video, Chadsky. I will use this information against you and the 606 crowd. Now, obviously, that's going to be one of our enemies here in this KvK as we're getting ready to hook this thing up. It's going to be a lot of fun as we open up this pass on Sunday. And so with that, I was going through this and kind of trying to understand exactly how we need to kind of go through how I'm going to prep for this. Now, what I have to do, and this is not just about like me as a rallying garrison that needs to push the all damage at the end of the tree. It's also just for anybody who's running their tech and they don't max spin. They can't go do everything on it. So what's the best path, and how do you line up the path based on what the troop types you're running? Well, we're in a situation where with all of our commanders right now, we've got so many good marches in all the different troop types. Like so many good ones. And so everybody's got to run a Chin, right? Everybody's got to run a Sun Tzu. But what do I do if I'm trying to run 3 Cavs? What do I do if I'm trying to run 3 infantry or 3 archers? There's ways you can specify that. Now, this is in no way trying to tell everybody that you need to focus one troop type. It is just one of those situations to where if you run 3 infantry and 2 Cavs and 1 archer, or if you run 3 infantry, 1 Cav and 1 archer, if you have heavy troop types, and it could be made up because of your skin, your city skin, you might have a 15% infantry health. All right, you might have a 20% cavalry defense. And this is the max benefit you're going to get out of it if you don't have like an all troop type of skin, right? Like the Saga of the Longship with 12% attack, and then came out the Sands of Time, 16% attack. So if you don't have this kind of stuff, and let's just say you've got like a 10% city skin, all right, because we got plenty of those too, where we've got, let's see, cavalry defense 10%. Where's my other stuff here? Should have. Let me filter this out with my legendaries. Hold on one second. Got my Kraken stuff going on here. Archer attack 10%. You know, you can get some of these different types of city skins in the KvK shop. And if you're not a big spender and you don't have a Zenith skin, you can now get these things in the KvK shop. Let me see. I'll come over here into the shop, and they give you opportunities to pull some of these different city skins. Archer defense, of course. We even got a siege city skin. We've got other city skins, I believe, up here with the cavalry 10% defense. We've got it here with the infantry 10% defense. So even if you don't spend a lot, right, you can save up the coins and go get a city skin and then tailor your marches, or maybe your marches are already tailored that way. You just need the skin to help maximize your stats. Because if you're running 5 marches and 3 of your marches happen to be infantry, then you're in a situation to where you can actually like tailor your city skin, tailor your crystal tech. And that's the thing I wanted to show you. So let's talk about the crystal tech real quick, all right? The way the new tech works out, and they put this in the game a handful of months ago, and you can easily go do the econ tech, makes it very easy if you're doing cutting corners, if you're doing cultural exchange, if you're doing a ton of barbarians, Karok, you're maximizing that. Even your call to arms that maximizes your troop cap. It's the best way to get performance on your marches. And then here, you've really got to go linear here. You can go linear. You can do one troop type. Obviously, this is my main, and I run cavalry, right? So I run the cavalry up there, I work myself through this, and then I run the cavalry in the back here. And so from there, it's like, okay, well, if I get into zone 5, I can do expanded marches and go with a 6 march, or I can maximize the different types of damage and damage mitigation that I can get in the back of the tree. And that's what I have to do because I run the garrisons and rallies, okay? So if I only run 5 marches, I'm like, well, hell, I'll just take this, I'll go run my 20% defense skin, and then I'll go run 3 out of 5 marches in the field for cavalry, okay? So I'm gonna go through this with you and tell you what I would recommend, what I'm planning on running, and then we can go through some of the other troop types for infantry and archers as well. So if I'm running in zone 5, okay, and we open this thing up, and we're gonna go fight in zone 5. All right. And so from there, we're in a situation to where we go fight zone 5, and I'm only going to run 5 marches, and I can just stick with 3 cavs. That's probably what I'll run. All right. I'm going to run Arabia. I think I got to change my civilization to Arabia, as I've been Germany for the city skin and all that fun stuff. And so if I go run Arabia, okay, that's going to give me more stats. I've got my city skin set up. I've got my tech set up. And if I'm going to run cavalry, I'm going to run 3 cavalry in a 5 march lineup, okay? So the 3 cavalry I would use first and foremost is going to be this right here. Okay, and it is Gang and Achilles. Really pretty simple, really pretty easy. If I'm running 3 cav marches, this is one of the ones I've got to go with. Okay, I'm going to run it with Delta, and I'm going to go Cook. The second one, I'm going to bring Versi into play here because I'm running 3 cavalry. All right, and Vercingetorix is, from our testing and what we've seen and what I've seen already on reports, works really, really well with Arthur and gives Arthur a lot of tankiness that he needs. And in addition to that, Arthur has a rage mitigation that he does, and it's really, really potent and really, really good. When you're able to mitigate rage, it ramps up the second skill of Vercingetorix when you mitigate rage on the enemy. He stacks up the more direct damage, combo damage, and smite damage, right? So that's always a good combination. We talked about this at length when it came to the Versi stuff that we put out, but this is how we're going to set this thing up, okay? And so from that, we are going to go with that march. Then the third march, because I'm a cav main and I'm a psycho with calves, I'm running Attila David, okay? And the main reason why this march is really, really good, it's not going to be your highest KP march, and it's not going to be your highest trading march. It's always going to trade well, because that's just what Attila does. But more importantly, since I'm running 2 other combo marches, I want to run David, because now I'm running all these combo marches, and David has a debuff. He doesn't have to be in garrison for this. That's why a 5.515 David is really good to use in the field. People use it behind Arthur all the time, and it's really good. But the bottom line is it puts a debuff on the target where it takes 40% more combo attack damage, all right, for 3 seconds. That's phenomenal when you're laying down a bunch of combo damage, not only from David, but also from your big march here and your Arthur march here. And so the other ways to do this, we've got many other ways. But with that, I would run the 3 calves, and then, of course, the best archer march you can run with it, which is a Chin Zuge or a Chin YSG. But I don't have to run YSG because I can actually, I'm an Orleans KvK, and I can use YSG's 4 skill to run a Chin Zuge. So Chin Zuge, Chin YSG, however you want to do it. And then the same thing on the infantry march. Sun Tzu BQ is everybody's go-to. But I would also consider Luce as well. So that is also some of the other things that you can do there. Now, with your cavalry, if you don't have Versi, because not everybody does, he's an MGE commander, you can run it a couple of different ways. You can run it with Arthur and Philip, no problem. You can run it with Arthur and William, no problem. That stuff still works really well. I love Arthur with Hector. And so from that standpoint, I might even run that since I'm running more combo damage on the David March, and I want to put the debuff on, and I want another high damage combo dealer to be in that mix and not just a Versi commander that's tanking and shielding and buffing. And so there's other ways that I can do that. If you haven't converted some stones yet and you're still running Huo with Joan, still really, really good. Okay, Huo with Arthur, great. Joan with Arthur, great. If you're still, and I say great, like the skill damage Wedge 2.0 is keeping it in the game. All right, when you have Wedge 2.0, it keeps it in the game. I recently converted mine, so I've just got all my rares on this now. It no longer has the special inscriptions. I converted those back to my Delta, as I'm going to run 2 Delta and 1 Arch on my cavalry marches, but you can run that as well. So the skill damage march is fine as well. You can sub in. And then obviously I've got Sun Tzu with Luce down here in the bottom if you want to sub that one in for your 1 infantry march, or if you're running 3 calves and you want to go 2 infantry and you're not running Chin, I don't know why you would do that, but you could run that same thing with Sun Tzu and William Wallace and the BQ Luce. You can do it a couple of different ways. Or you can, if you have the benefit of having Versi, you could run Arthur with Hector, put Versi back behind BQ and run Sun Tzu with Luce and BQ and Versi. I think that is an incredible march. So that's kind of your cavalry for this. And don't worry, I'll have a graphic at the end, or you can take that and kind of get an idea with it, okay? So those are your cavalry, and let's say you're an infantry player. And you're like, Chansky, I've got infantry. How do I do this? How do I set this up? You're going to go deep into your tree on the infantry side of things. You're going to run up the defense. You're going to run up the march speed. You're going to do all that. You're going to get through this stuff. And even if you're a free-to-play or low spender, you can get to the back here to where you can run up the health and more march speed for infantry, and it works out pretty good. And so from there, you put your city skin on, you run your infantry civilization, and you go cook, okay? And if you're going to run infantry, this is how I would set up a 3-march infantry if you're running 3 out of 5 or 3 out of 6 marches, okay? This is how I'd set it up. I would run Sun Tzu with William Wallace, love the march. I would run BQ with Versi, okay? BQ has some really cool things that he does when it comes to rage mitigation, okay? And obviously he's got it in the smite tree, really, really good, helps out a ton, and really gets that second skill going on the stacks of the more damage. That really ramps up fast. And I think Dom is going to have a great video about that and how that thing works, but that's how I would run that. Third, I like CPO. What is this? Versi? No, this is going to be CPO with our boy Luce. Okay, so those are your 3 marches I would recommend. Some people will have Sun Tzu Ivar in there, and it's just like, okay, we can run that if you guys want to. Others would put some other marches in there. Of course, I'm going to run the best cavalry march. I think the best cavalry march can be Gang or Achilles, or down here I've got Arthur Achilles that you can sub in and run just fine as well. Of course, Chin with Zuge, and then Chin with YSG is pretty easy. All right, and so from there, if you wanted to run like Sun Tzu with Ivar, or if you wanted to run BQ with CJ, you've got that as well. I also ran BQ Hector. I love that freaking march. Luce with Philip, you can run that. BQ with CJ, as we talked about. You can even run the Luce Alex like we used to run back in the day. So there's other ways that you can do that. These are the 3 marches I think are the best 3 for infantry if you're going to focus that, and it works out pretty easily. If you don't have Versi, just put Hector behind him. If you don't have Hector, you can do a couple of different things and still run your Luce with Alex, and then go put Philip behind BQ. Okay, there's a couple different ways you do that, or you can bring in CJ, however you want to do that. Okay, you're kind of splitting hairs at that point. No one march or one combination is infinitely better than everybody else, but this march right here with BQ and Versi, very, very good. We tested it. Dom and I tested it. It was absolutely really, really good. And so from there, that's how you set up your 3 infantry lineup. If you're going to zone 5, you're a max spender, and you really want to focus one troop type to get to the back of the damage tech on the tech tree. And so from there, that's how we do it. So Same thing with free-to-play and low spenders. If you only run 5 marches or you run 6 marches and you run 3 of one troop type, this is an easy way to do it. So now let's talk about the archers, okay? Same type of thing you go through here, and then all of a sudden you start ramping up all of this. The archer defense, the archer march speed, which is good. You run your way through this, and then you run your archer health and your archer, march speed in the back as well to give you even more march speed. And then, of course, everybody knows if you're running archers and you're an archer main, okay, and you might not be rallying or garrisoning, the best, absolute best, and one of the best city themes in the game is the Ottoman, right? And mainly because you get 5% health on archers and you get 5% skill damage bonus. Okay, which is really, really good. It's always been really good. Back in the day when we used to run a bunch of field with all skill damage commanders for infantry, cavalry, and archers, we used to love this. But now it's more focused to archers, okay? And if you're gonna run the rallies and garrisons, then you can do some things and use the buffs from Egypt. You can do that. And a lot of people are running, where's it at? A lot of people are running China, because China has like one of the best stats for their special troop type. It's great. The stats that they give you, it actually gives you more. And then they run the different buff of Egypt, or they run the different buff of Ottoman, just depending on where they're at in this. Where's my Egypt? Let's see. Greece, Rome, France, China, Egypt. There it is. And so you can run this buff as well. That mainly gives you the 5% army damage for your rallies, okay? And so rallied army damage of 5%, it's great. Yeah, also, you can do that for the cavalry and infantry as well, okay? So with that being said, I just wanted to show you Ottoman because it's so good. But if I'm running 3 archers and people are like, Chatsky, you don't run 3 archers, you barely run 1. I run 1 and now I'm gonna run 2, but I would say if I'm running 3 archers, this is how I would set it up. I'd run Chen, let me see here. I would run Chen with YSG, right? Where's my boy? YSG, one of the most famous commanders in Rise of Kingdoms. Insanely good even to today. And then I would run Alp with Herman. Now, the conventional wisdom was that Herman with the support tree would have been better primary, but people are actually getting better reports with Alp Arslan as primary, so I would go with that. And then if I had to run a third one, couple different ways you can do this. You can run Zuge with Ash and go run a bunch of AoE damage. Ash is still really pretty good in the field, even though he's got some skills here that they just about all work, right? When you look at this, all of his skills work here. His skills work here, except for this part right down here. All right. You take 20% less normal damage when you are, when you have a rally or when you're attacking a city or stronghold. Okay. Still good for swarming, but doesn't actually work in the field. And then you've got this back here to where you do take less normal damage, but then you have a part of his force skill that hinders you if you're in the field. But he's still really good, really, really potent. Now, there are other ways that you could run this. Of course, I'm going to put the cavalry best march there with Arthur and Achilles as kind of a backup. I think I've got that down here. Or a gang Achilles as your cavalry march, and the same thing over here with infantry. You could run Sun Tzu with BQ, or you can run Sun Tzu with Luce. However you want to do that for one infantry march and for one cavalry march. Okay, but for the archers, you can also run Zuge with Philip. Still really good, buffs a lot. It works out really well, very tanky, fast, and people still use that in the field. A lot of people love running Shajar behind Chen. I've never been a huge proponent of it. People love it in altars because it stays alive so long, but you can also run Chen with Shajar. The only time I run that is when I'm going full normal damage, and I want Shajar's expertise to fire off to give my troops more normal damage, because this is based off of healing. That's to 3 troops in that are in my murder ball, 3 marches. And so that's how sometimes I'll run Shajar, but you have that. Then you have like a Zuge Herman option if you want to do that. And that's kind of how you set it up. But that's how I would run my archers if I ran 3 archers. Okay. So to sum it up, there's an easier way to do this. And I just figured, hey, this is fitting. Because number one, if you're going into a zone 5 and you're a rally or garrison lead and you don't have the luxury of going to get a 6 march and you want to focus one troop type, that's how you can do it. The other way is that if you're a free to play or low spender and you're not going to get all the way to the back of the tree back here, and it's going to take a long time, you can still focus one type of troop, but just make sure it's the troop you're running the most of. Some people run a 2-2-2 setup with 6 marches, but a lot of people will run 3 of one kind. Just about all the reviews I do for the 300 Club, they all run like 3 of one kind and then 2 and 1 or 2 and 2. And so with that, you can set this up to where you go heavy on one troop type, especially in a zone 5 or towards the end of KvK for free to plays and low spenders, and you can get the max benefit you can out of the back of the tree. That's nothing new. People have put out videos about that before. We all know this, but if you're going to do it, then here are the marches to do it with. If you're going to run it with infantry, you're going to run these guys. This is how I would run it with the 3 marches. Of course, you have other ones you can put in there as well with Hector and CJ and Philip and even Alex and even Ivar. You can do a couple of things like that. If you run it with cavalry, this is how I'd run a full-on combo. Let's go to town. You can even move Versi around. If you don't have Versi, Hector's great. If you're going to run David, it's fantastic. This is literally what I'm going to run in my zone 5, literally what I'm planning on running my zone 5. Okay. And with that, you run obviously your Chen march, you run your Sun Tzu march. And then if you're going to run with archers, Chen YSG, easy. Alp with Herman, pretty easy. Zuge Ash, kind of, man, wish you had something better, but you have other options to run there as well. And then you run your Cav march, and then you run your infantry march. So that just gives everybody a good idea of how to set this thing up and how to do it. I have a lot of players that ask me about that, especially some of the younger players that are developing their marches, only have 5 marches, and they've gone heavy on infantry or heavy on Cavs, and it works out really, really well. And then for those of us who are going to rally in garrison, I'm just going to go all in on Cavs. 3 Cavs, we're going to go fight in a zone 5, and we're going to go cook. We're going to go hammer down and do the rallying from the troop type that I've got. In addition to that, I can run 3 out of my 5 marches and really focus on the cavalry for that. And it works out well because I maximize the crystal tech, I maximize the city skin, I maximize the civilization, I maximize everything. Okay. And then obviously for me later on at KvK, I'm running 7 marches and I'm running all different troop types and 2, 2, and 3. That's typically how I run that. So if you got anything out of this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. I appreciate you guys. And don't forget to comment down below in the comment section. Giveaway, guys, YouTube creators across all different spectrums, all different platforms. It doesn't matter if it's Mr. Beast or if it doesn't matter if it's the guys that my kid watches when he's watching NBA 2K videos. Plus, at the end of the day, I always love to give back to the community. You guys know me, and so much of what I do gives back to the community. So we'll keep running those video giveaways for a $10 flex. Be sure to comment. And with all that, we hope you have a great day, broskies.